I get upset about is a high school,
Hmm.
officially making it college sweatshirt day. Hey,
Hmm.
on Friday, wear your college sweatshirt of where you're going. And
Hmm.
you've pointed out off the top of your head six different reasons why someone doesn't know the answer to that
Yeah.
question or how it might just not be sure yet.
Yeah.
And that implies a lot of different pressure. And to what you said about we send them things, yeah, and they buy those things. Obviously, they buy more things than
Oh, they
any
buy a
college.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah, no college sends them that much stuff. To
Yeah.
be quite honest with
No.
you,
You,
but the idea is that like, yeah, they want to celebrate it. They want to have pride in that. And I think, showing my age, people unofficially tended to start wearing college sweatshirts when they made the college decision.
yeah.
But it wasn't like a thing. Like today is when
Right.
we're going to do it, and I guess that's just. And again, that's not the problem.
Well,
I just think it's a symptom of this overall problem of what we're
right.
getting to, which is my success in life is determined by the
Hmm.
good college
The
and
brand,
the
the name on
brand.
the sweatshirt.
Right.
Yeah.
And to the other point, what I was trying to get at earlier was the idea of outcomes based, evaluation of colleges and universities. The Obama
Right.
administration tried to do this with college scorecard.
Right. I
And
love,
no
love,
university likes it because it doesn't take into account all of the intricacies involved with a student finding quote unquote what I would call their independent definition of success. You
right.
cannot standardize success and where a student
Right.
goes. And I guess that's my largest part is how do we get people to that point of what is commonly, I think at this point, trivialized as find your fit. And I think that
Mm.
counselors, I use it all the time. High school counselors use it all the time. Independent counselors use it all the time. We got to find your fit. And I think to the other point that you brought up, in this economy, many parents, many students are saying, get the kumbaya language out of here. We're
Hmm.
trying to make sure that we're maintaining success.
We don't want our kid living in the basement.
Exactly.
Right.
But on the other side of this, have we ever had this conversation? Did we talk about Malcolm Gladwell's book David and Goliath?
I I feel like we touched on it during like our dinner,
If
but
you haven't got it, go
yeah.
get it. There's a whole chapter in there on for lack of a better term, why going to the Ivy League is not necessarily the best route.
Right.
And
Right.
it basically says that in short version, which I'll shortcut it, and I'm sure I'm going to get called on that's not accurate, but basically,
Mhm.
you have just as equal, if not more, of a chance of becoming a failure at the Ivy
Mhm.
League than you
Yeah.
would going to, in your local standpoint, Virginia Tech,
Right.
Roanoke, whatever it's going to be, because there are these other factors that are not objective or tangible
Right.
that have to
Right.
do with how you are going to find your success.
Right.
And I'll circle back on something else you said. You said that your happiest students end up going to USC, and I would say, well, yeah, we got the best ones, but no. But what I'm saying
And
is
then
that
my
we have,
sunshine students go to USC. Yeah.
but to the point of there's something that type in your little micro example of
Hmm.
your population, something spoke to those types of students, and there's a
Hmm.
trend that you saw, and they ended up being happy and successful. Therefore, and the ones that went somewhere else are finding their success elsewhere,
Yeah,
and we
they
need to
are.
figure out how to get that vibe down to
And
parents.
I think, you know, because I work with students after they go into college and just support them through graduation, getting their first job, majors, whatever, and just keep in contact because we're such a tight-knit community. I started to notice I need to be a lot better at directing students to their right fit because
Yeah,
I said to myself, and I say to them, I'm like, who trained you on how to pick a college? And they're like,
they ask
well,
you or
no, I asked them. I'm like, who trained you on how to pick a college? They're like,
oh, got it.
nobody. And I'm like, okay. So why do you think you're like, I'm not trying to say that you're not qualified, but why do you think you should be in the driver's seat? Because a lot of people use that the student should be in the driver's seat. Right. But if I'm a student and I'm looking at a college and one has, a great boba tea bar and a great social life and great aesthetics for Instagram and whatever, I'm
Mm,
I'm not necessarily I'm going to be won over by those things. And so for me, I tell my students as long as there's not roaches, rats, mold, you're going to be fine. If you like, you're going to be fine. The
right.
classroom doesn't need to be the most up-to-date classroom. It's going to come down to your professors and your connections that you make there and whether you're willing to go out on a limb. Because if you don't feel comfortable at your college, you're not going to ever reach out, branch out in the way that you're supposed to. So a lot of times when students are making decisions and they're saying like, well, I need to go to this college because it has all these networking opportunities, you're going to be working during college. So how many networking opportunities are you going to have an opportunity to actually engage in? What is it going to feel like when you're working at the library and some of your friends come in? What
You mean
opportunities
studying?
do you actually need?
Do you mean
Yeah.
working by studying? Like that your
Yeah,
job is to
not
be
even
like,
work
okay,
study. Like, what is it going to feel like to be, a waitress at a local restaurant
right,
in town,
right,
and then your friends come in and they have no cares in the world? And so you have to figure out for each student. I think the biggest disservice that we have is we still allow students to say, this is my dream school, and this is my reach school, and these are my target schools, and these are my safety schools. And essentially, what we're doing is we're reinforcing that there's some schools that are better than others. And, if the safety schools become, oh, well, I would go there if I have to, but I don't want to necessarily go there. And it's not just, hey, I want schools that have undergraduate research opportunities, or I want schools that have mentoring with
right,
professors, or I want schools where I can actually do a year and have it count in the workforce. Like
right.
those are the things to me that define college. And so I kind of had to work my way back and say, okay, then what questions do I need to be asking? And for me, the common question that I feel like gets at a lot of the things is, do you stay after class with your teacher right now? So if you have an issue in class, do you look it up,
Hmm.
go to your friends, or stay after school? And if they say, I stay after school, I talk to my professors, I'm looking for a college that has that kind of environment where the professor and the student are very close. Maybe they're working together, things
Hmm.
like that. But if they're like, I like to look things up on my own, then that's a kid that's going to be great at a larger college.
Right.
I don't have to have them in a smaller environment. And so I think, you know,
Do you
but
think
we
students
do.
these days identify as one of those? I mean, the more I'm seeing is that students are kind of picking and choosing identity by day, if that makes any sense. Like
No.
there's not that singular path of a student
Yeah, I
finding
mean, I
success.
don't think there's a singular, but every student I've asked knows the answer. They're like, I
What
don't,
they feel, what they
it's kind
like.
of like, do
What
you
yeah.
go to your teacher as a last resort is another
Oh,
question,
yeah.
or do you go to them first?